I'm leading off with Adley Rutschman. The guy, in my opinion, is invaluable at the top of the order just because, one, he's a switch hitter, so it doesn't matter if Pat Venditti pitches from the left or the right side, he's going to be...
Pat Venditti getting a lot of run here on this show.
But also, out of the leadoff spot, his OPS is above 800 this season with an average just under 300. He has been so good out of the leadoff spot for Baltimore. But the other story there is that he's one of the guys on this team whose on base percentage is incredibly high because he has an incredible eye in the batter's box. And that's incredibly important for the rest of the lineup, because even if he strikes out and goes back to the dugout, he can say, look for this, look for that. He's not going to throw you this, he'll throw you that. And that is what will help the rest of the lineup. I put Ryan Mountcastle right behind him because we talked about how much he is hitting for average and for power right now. He has been so invaluable at the plate. Behind him, I've got Gunnar Henderson, a guy maybe a little bit lower batting average, but the power is there, and that's exactly what you need out of a three-hitter, especially one that's hitting after two guys who are likely going to be on base. Santander behind him, a little bit more of the same story as Gunnar, except he can do it from both sides of the plate, which, again, invaluable. Behind him, Ryan O'Hearn, DH spot, doesn't need to play the field, just go out there and mash. Number one guy for me when I'm on the field, I want to watch him in the batter's box during batting practice because pretty much every ball he hits goes out of the ballpark. He is so much
big bat,
fun
Ryan O'Hearn.
To watch. Gotta love watching Ryan O'Hearn. In the sixth spot, I've got Cedric Mullins, another guy who could be in the leadoff spot, but you put him down at 6, you almost start the lineup over again with a team with this much capability. Then in the 7th spot, I believe I had Austin Hayes, a guy earlier this season who was leading the AL in the batting title race. I mean, his contact numbers at times are incredible. So Austin Hayes at the bottom of the lineup, I mean, that is an incredible luxury for a team to have. After him, I've got Ramon Urias. I like to get the defense in there, the Gold Glove at third base, and then my favorite player on the team, Adam Frazier, rounds out at 9. I love that guy. Just a ball player.
Ball player.
Total ball
Adam
player.
Frazier. I think this is probably a lineup that has been constructed, or at least will be constructed in the future here for Brandon Hyde. I think your lineup probably makes the most sense to against right-handed pitching, getting Adam Frazier in the lineup at second base. So on the bench for you here, you leave Jorge Mateo, who could come off the bench as a kind of spark plug defensive guy. And you also leave Jordan Westberg on the bench. That was tough.
Yeah. Leave Jordan Westberg. I really wanted to include him, but at the end, I took the Gold Glove and Ramon Urias. Yeah,
Jordan Westberg at this point hitting .266 on base percentage, just over 300.
Really good player.
712 OPS. Adam Frazier's numbers right around there. The batting average is worse for Frazier. Slugging percentage right around the same. On base percentage right around the same. OPS of 710. So those two guys having very similar seasons thus far. I do think it's interesting, and it's been an interesting conversation for me to talk about Adley Rutschman in the leadoff spot. Because traditionally, I mean, unless it's JT Realmuto, who's one of the most athletic catchers in baseball, you don't really have a catcher batting leadoff. I mean, we know the speed is there for Adley Rutschman. He's a good athlete, but he's not going to steal a ton of bases. I mean, he has one stolen base on the year. So, Matt, where do you fall on kind of the traditional leadoff hitter, like somebody like Jorge Mateo, Cedric Mullins, versus just putting the guy in the leadoff spot who gets on base the most?
I think that the speedy guy who hits for contact kind of leadoff hitter is becoming a thing of the past. And I'm a guy who kind of considers himself a little bit of an old school baseball person, so I usually go towards some of those things. But when you have a bat like Adley Rutschman, who's a switch hitter and can run a little bit, he's not slow, and he can take pitches with the best of them, get on base, I think that it's just impossible to deny that he belongs at the top of the lineup. Sure, there are teams out there who can make it work with those old school classic top of the order guys, but I think all of baseball is kind of shifting towards get your best hitters at the front of the lineup so that later in the game, they're going to have more opportunities to hit in clutch situations, not only at the beginning of the game. So I like Adley at the front.
Yeah, and if you're following along with us live on YouTube or Facebook, you can see Matt's lineup in full here with leadoff Adley Rutschman, which bumps Cedric Mullins down to the 6th spot, and that is a really nice luxury to have, as we mentioned. Cedric Mullins, we know, is one of the better hitters on this team, even if the numbers through 79 games, struggling with injuries a little bit, has not helped him a ton. Still a bounce-back season offensively for Cedric Mullins from last year. Just been really solid all around. Ramon Urias at third, I think you kind of have to put there, just because of the Gold Glove. It's hard not to put a Gold Glove third baseman at third base. That's what won him
the battle over Jordan.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair. I'll go to my lineup here, and
I'm excited to see it.
This is just me being a little bit more of a traditionalist, but I do have Cedric Mullins in the leadoff spot. I think we're going to see it at times this year, Cedric Mullins leading off. We know Adley Rutschman is a great option there because of his on-base percentage, but Cedric Mullins still has the 3rd highest on-base percentage on this team at .330. Excellent hitter. I think the OPS numbers for Mullins are going to continue to rise, and he's second on the team in stolen bases with 15. If he had been healthy for the entire season, he might lead the team in stolen bases at this point. So I still put Cedric Mullins up at the leadoff spot. Maybe that's me just being more of a old school kind of lineup construction guy. Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, I think, are the 2 best pure hitters on this team. That's why they go 2 and 3, driving in Cedric Mullins. Ryan Mountcastle, as we mentioned, been on an absolute heater. I put him 4th, followed by Anthony Santander. I think those are 2 of the better pure power hitters on this team outside of Gunnar Henderson. And then I tried to vary the right and left a little bit. So I've got Santander, the switch hitter, batting 5th. Austin Hayes, right-handed hitter, batting 6th. Ryan O'Hearn, the lefty, batting 7th. And then I've got Jordan Westburg in at second base over Adam Frazier. Maybe with a right-handed pitcher on the mound, I would go with Frazier over Westburg. But Westburg just feels like kind of a spark plug at this point. It's hard for me to take Westburg out of the lineup, given what we've seen from him recently. The defense, if you look at outs above average, has been a little bit better than Adam Frazier this year, which is kind of weird because coming into the season, Adam Frazier, traditionally a very, very good fielder, was not as good defensively, at least in terms of the advanced metrics that we were expecting from Frazier. So I put Westburg in there, and then, again, have to put Ramon Urias in the lineup somewhere at third base. Won a Gold Glove last year. Best defensive run saved at that position in the American League a season ago. He's got to be in the lineup for me.